My story is incomplete without sharing my father's story first. I was always told how similar we are, and growing up, I was constantly hearing stories about what life was like for him growing up. He was raised in urban Karachi, Pakistan, the youngest of 12 siblings. Yes, you heard that right, 12. He grew up extremely impoverished, to the point where when he turned 4 years old, he began selling eggs to support his family in any way he could, whether the small way he could. Fast forward 14 years later, my father immigrated to the United States of America with $20 in his pocket and an abundance of dreams. He worked extremely hard to make ends meet and worked every job, from bussing tables, to flipping burgers, to delivering pizzas, to driving a taxi, to later owning his own clothing store on the west side of Chicago. Hearing the way my father made a name for himself always inspired me, and looking back, I realized there were many similarities between my father's journey and my breakthrough into politics. Both of us navigated an unfamiliar space without any financial resources, guidance, connections, or even a clear path of where we wanted to end up. Looking back on our stories, I decided to decode what I like to call the hustle mentality. Realizing the hustle is something that is not innate, but actually can be practiced, I've put together this word equation to describe what it takes to accomplish bold and ambitious goals. We have drive times persistence over the art of asking for things, all multiplied by impulsivity. Focusing on the words itself, as opposed to the relationship between each of these traits, makes it much easier to digest. Starting with probably the most surprising part of this equation, impulsivity. Merriam-Webster Dictionary defines impulsivity as acting or tending to act suddenly and without careful thought. However, I would just change the definition to have strong intuition and self-trust and the ability to take action quickly. Impulsivity has a negative connotation to it. However, changing the definition to be centered around intuition makes it a really good skill to harbor. Impulsivity means not waiting weeks or months before making the decision to launch your business or nonprofit, or taking the leap of faith to start your life in a foreign country. And to me, impulsivity translated as not waiting to make the decision to run for office. When my father got word he could come to the United States, he had a ticket in his hand the following week. Call it excitement or call it impulsivity, the same side of the brain is being activated. At the age of 19, I got a call from the head field director for a political campaign I spent the summer working on, and he asked me to run for public office. I waited one single day before launching my political campaign. My father also invested in a transportation business, and each taxi was independently worth $250,000 at one point. He had the opportunity to sell and make an immense profit on his investment, but decided to wait. 6 months later, with the surge of Uber, the value collapsed and depreciated by over 90%. Sometimes it can hurt to wait. And what was masked as thoughtfulness was actually the question of self-trust and intuition. You can always build a foundation as you're walking on it, my father always said. Moving on to the next part of this equation, drive. Drive is defined as an innate, biologically determined urge to attain a goal or satisfy a need. People oftentimes try to defuel my father's inner drive by urging him that his decision to move to the United States was not the right one because he couldn't fully speak the language at the time, or whether it was shaming him for working multiple odd jobs. I found 1 week after launching my campaign for public office, I was called into a long-standing elected official's office. His message was simple: do not run for this seat. Drop out. Besides, you won't get elected. People who try to defuel drive end up impacting confidence instead. Confidence comes and goes. Drive, ambition, and of course persistence cannot be touched. People end up coming for confidence in the guise of impacting your drive. Moving on to the next part of this equation, we have persistence, which is defined as firm or continuance in a course of action in spite of difficulty or opposition. My father's first job in the 90s, when he moved to the United States, was working as a busboy at the Burger Lounge. He was quickly promoted to work in the kitchen. In the kitchen, he was told how to make the perfect burger, something he would have to repeat all day. Until one day, he got an order that said, "No onion." My father had no idea what the word onion meant. He made the burger as usual. The sandwich was sent back. He made it the same way again. Sent back again. The third time, his manager came and made him cut onions for the following hour. It was then and there my father realized that he had to stick to this job because he was about to learn way more words than just onion. In March of 2019, on election night, a reporter on live television asked me if I would run for public office again. I said no way. I was discouraged. And although that feeling was valid, I was somehow drawn to the political process again as I engaged with people who shared they voted for the very first time because my name was on the ballot. So, 6 months later, in April 2019, with the support of my former opponent, I decided to give it another shot. And I got elected, going down in the Chicago History Museum as the youngest Muslim elected official in the United States. Drive and persistence go hand in hand because if you truly are driven towards a goal or your purpose, you need persistence to enact that, hence why they are multiplied in the equation. If either is 0, the entire equation falls short. You have to stay true to your purpose, what guides you, and it's easy to lose motivation in spite of difficulty or opposition. Leading me to the final part of my equation, the art of asking for things. Networking can be quite challenging, and figuring out how to leverage what connection in what way is an art, not a science. Realizing that there are some people who can contribute to your goals and success in a specific way is a really good way to take networking to the next level. The main element for the art of asking for things is overcoming the fear of rejection. When it comes to making the ask itself, it's important to be clear, direct, specific, and vulnerable. In South Asian culture, it is incredibly frowned upon to blatantly ask for help. You can imagine how difficult it was for my father making his way around a foreign country without any formal guidance, until one day he decided to ask his older brother for something, a bicycle. He rode that bike all across the city of Chicago in the winter, in the snow, delivering pizzas. And that winter and beyond, he saved up enough money to invest in his own clothing store on the west side of Chicago called Chicago Style. I personally was terrified from asking for things. For my campaign, I oftentimes found myself asking people for time or money, the two most finite resources to a person. The very first time I asked someone to make a $100 contribution to my campaign, I had to take a sip of water to prevent myself from taking the ask back. Those 15 seconds, that silence is everything. By being vulnerable and sharing the financial status of my campaign at the time, the $100 I asked for seemed incredibly low to the person I made the ask to. And that day, I earned my first $1,000 contribution to my campaign. Realizing, had I probably asked for more to begin with, I probably could have reached my financial goals sooner. Going back to the equation, impulsivity helps you make decisions quickly, coupled with the proactive effort on the left. Drive and persistence are on top because if either of these are zero, the entire equation falls flat and you end up with no hustle. Overcoming the fear of rejection is one of the main elements behind the art of asking for things. You already have within you what it takes to succeed. Implementing the traits from this formula and equation can help you achieve bold and ambitious goals. So the question now becomes, what have you been waiting to do? What name will you make for yourself as you embrace the hustle mentality? And I can only hope that my journey in success is a testament to my father's hard work and grit to make it in this country. Thank you.